Hi, everybody. My name is Darren Quadre. I am the Executive Director of Innovation and the Nittany AI Alliance. And it is my pleasure today to kick off this evening's event. Let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. As I said, I am very happy to be here tonight to kick off the celebration event for the 2020 Nittany AI Challenge. Again, thank you for everybody being here. Thanks to the students. Thanks to our sponsors. We'll go into those details later. And thanks to the awards committee that helped made some tough decisions around who is to receive tonight's $25,000. But before we get into all that fun stuff, I just want to give folks sort of an overview for those that don't know much about the Alliance, give you an understanding of why we exist and what we do. So we exist to provide what we call uncommon experiential learning opportunities that are really AI-centric, and they help prepare students to lead in a world that is shaped by artificial intelligence. And our world is being shaped as we speak with AI and machine learning. Now, how do we do this? We do this through programs we've created that bring together people, partners, technology to provide students with these experiences along with funding in the forms of awards, grants, internships. And we also provide access to industry-leading AI technology and expertise and curated resources that enable these experiential learning opportunities. But we do it through structured programs that are integrated, and they're integrated at 3 different levels. So you see here on the screen, we have level 1, which is really focused on understanding and recognizing AI. And the reason these are listed or put in sort of a funnel format is because this top level around understanding and recognizing, we're really trying to bring in as many students as we can across all colleges and all campuses, because our core belief is that AI is going to change the way we live, the way we work, and the way we learn. And we really need to pull in as many students as possible because it's going to affect them all. So that's really level 1, understanding and recognizing AI. And the reason it's at the top of the funnel, it really focuses on our most broadest group. And level 2 is really getting students sort of a little more focused. We're going deeper into the technology, and we're learning how to analyze and apply various AI tools. And that's where we are today. The program, the Nittany AI Challenge. So we have these teams that have spent basically the last 8 months doing just that. And now the last level is level 3, which goes even more deeper, and that's around creating and evaluating AI solutions. And we refer to that as our AI Associate program. So that's a broad overview of our 3 programs that are integrated, and they're integrated around the AI for Good umbrella, which I'll talk a little bit more in just a bit. So the Nittany AI Challenge, it's what I like to refer to as our innovation engine. It provides students with the opportunity to innovate, to work in teams, to build solutions, addressing global issues. We really want to help students make a difference in our world using AI and machine learning. And they do this through 3 different phases: an idea phase, a prototype phase, and an MVP phase. And I want to say that, this is a long process, as I said. And I want each student here tonight to feel a huge sense of accomplishment, having made it through all these phases. So I just want to say congrats to all the students that are here this evening. Okay, what I like to do is give some quick stats each year on the challenge. Now the challenge this year has impacted 196 students. That's from idea phase to where we are tonight. And it's gone across 6 different campuses, 15 colleges, 52 majors. And it was a comprehensive list of starting with 59 ideas around all 4 of our AI for Good pillars. And now we're down to 9 teams and 9 ideas tonight. Now, I just want to bring this back up a level. So we got into the challenge, provided some details. I want to really, before I introduce tonight's speaker, talk a little bit about the work we are doing in the challenge and in our other programs that fall under the umbrella for AI for Good. And the Nittany AI Alliance initiative that we call AI for Good aspires to improve the world through AI-based solutions in health, education, sustainability, and humanitarianism. And it's by focusing on these 4 pillars that the Nittany AI Alliance and the challenge, of course, being part of it, will empower students to positively impact society and become agents of change in their future careers. So at the end of the day, it's not just about doing exercises with these students to help them understand the technology. It's really about applying the technology and with an attempt to help better our world. Now, as you might expect, the focus of tonight's keynote is on AI for Good, and the title is Innovating Toward a Better Future. And our tonight's speaker is Saqib Sheikh. And Saqib, let me just go to the next. I have to say, we are delighted and grateful to have Saqib's involvement. Saqib, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Saqib Sheikh is a software developer in London, England, who is focused at the intersection of artificial intelligence and inclusive design. Saqib lost his sight when he was 7 years old, fell in love with computers, and grew up to become a software engineer with inspirational mission. In the pursuit of freedoms that sighted people all take for granted every day, Saqib, co-founder of Microsoft's Seeing AI, gives those who cannot see a new way to understand the world through the cameras on their smartphones. Saqib has also been more broadly involved in the application of AI, cognitive computing, image recognition, and mobile headset technologies. And we are thrilled to have him with us here tonight. So please click on your applause button and help me welcome Saqib.
Thank you so much for that incredible introduction. And thank you for inviting me here today. It really is an honor. And especially, just hearing that introduction, I wholeheartedly agree about the importance of AI. As you said, I lead a AI for Good team at Microsoft. Recently moved out here to the US at headquarters in Redmond now. And we have a number of AI for Good teams across Microsoft. And I'll talk a bit about that in a while. And specifically about my journey, we're going from a hackathon, sort of making projects on the side, a bit like some of you have over the past few months, through to my journey today with Seeing AI. So I'm really excited to hear more about your projects as well, because ultimately AI is going to transform society. And I'm a geek and I like technology, but it's not technology for technology's sake. For me, technology is all about this ability that each one of us has to invent a better future, to take our ideas to make something, and to make something that helps society. And that's why, looking at that list of projects that we have tonight, it's just incredible the impact that they could have across the different categories of society. And I guess I know this myself, because as was mentioned in the introduction, I'm blind myself. And I've really, really benefited from technology. Indeed, I probably wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the screen readers that read out loud what's on my phone or my computer, or the navigation aids for getting around, or the technology that helps me communicate with friends and colleagues. My whole life in many ways has been transformed by technology that was designed with this aim of enabling, of empowering. And I kind of think it's this magical moment when someone with the ability to create comes together with someone with a great need. And in my case, much of the work I do is around disability, but then Microsoft's AI for Good work across the board, humanitarian action, or the environment, or education, or there's so many incredible areas, healthcare, of course. And so, as creators, we truly have that power. And today, more than ever before, because with powerful technologies like artificial intelligence, with resources like cloud computing, I guess because you've gone through it, but sitting in your dorm, sitting in your office, you can build these things that have such an incredible impact. At Microsoft, like I say, one of my projects is Seeing AI, which I started a few years ago, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and the journey that brought me here, and then some more about Microsoft's AI for Good initiatives all up. So, like all projects, Seeing AI started as an idea, all the way back when I was at college. This idea that, hey, wouldn't it be great if there was something that told me who and what was around me at any moment in time? And that's a great idea, but there are so many ideas, and the time wasn't ready, the technology wasn't ready. But then a few years ago, Microsoft held its very first hackathon, a company-wide hackathon, I should clarify. This is when tens of thousands of people had the opportunity to spend a week working on a big idea, whatever they wanted. And so I thought back to my college days and thought, AI has come a long way since then. Let's give this a go. And that first year, it didn't go very far. I made something, it was great, and I continued hacking on the side as a side project. And so I think these are some of the key points. When you have an idea, it's not just the idea, it's making sure that you work alongside the community that you serve. And in my case, I started scratching my own itch, but then I quickly realized, the key is to go and talk with the community, talk to people within Microsoft around the world on the internet, other blind people. And then the second thing I quickly realized is it's the people you have, your team. And so a year later, Microsoft had another one of these global hackathons. And I got to say, they've become my favorite time of the year. Every year, this freedom to stop what you're doing, to think afresh. And then next year, really this went from side project to something of a movement. I met people in Silicon Valley and the Redmond HQ and India, all around the world. People are just excited by this idea, by what I'd done on the side, but then what the possibilities were. And then we got noticed by the CEO. And ultimately, I got to be on stage with Satya Nadella at our conference. That was an incredible experience. But even better was that this ultimately became my day job. And going to the ability to work on something that you're passionate about, your purpose, I think that's just incredible. And I encourage as many of you, AI for Good, it's such a rewarding career if you choose to follow that. So then we released Seeing AI to the world. And the great thing when you put your creation out there for the first time is you never know how people are going to use it. So we had created basically a talking camera app. It will recognize the people, text, and objects in your environment. And we found that people were using it in all sorts of ways, from reading their mail in the morning to identifying their groceries when they're putting it away in a well-known place in the kitchens. But then things like there was a teacher who had linked his iPhone to a braille display and put it on a tripod so that he could silently hear the names of people as they entered the room. That's something I never would have thought of, but it's one of my favorite examples. And I'm going to show you a video in just a moment, which shows just how one of our customers is integrating Seeing AI throughout every part of his life. So Brad, shall we go with that video?
My take on life is that life is definitely there for the taking. What you put in is what you'll get out. Two things important to me in life are family and music. They both play a huge part in my life. Technology allows me to be my own one-man band. I try to be as independent as I can, and the way that I do that mostly is with low tech, which is a white cane, and high tech, which is a phone.
Seeing AI.
Seeing AI is one of the biggest deals in technology, I think, at the moment for visually impaired users. It's an app that you can read almost anything, anywhere with it.
Kilburn High Road. Fashion. Workspace. Mayonnaise.
It has a multitude of functions, and they all work together to produce something that you can use whenever you need it. It might even be considered to be a Swiss Army knife of apps. Of all the parts of seeing AI, I really do think short text is the biggest of the game changers.
Northwest 6.
Because I've never seen anything like that in any other app before. And I like being in the back of cabs or in buses and pointing it out the window and seeing what I pass on the way to places.
Mobile phone NC 4000 services.
One of the greatest things about short text for me is that if there's no one else in the house, I can sort the post into who's who.
Mrs. K. Louis. Mrs. Kirsten Louis.
So I don't open my wife's post and she doesn't get cross with me. Package.
Oh, well, Andre.
My man Alex.
Good.
One fella.
Blessed.
£20.
That's really cool.
Currency is a very useful channel because sometimes it's very difficult to know what notes actually are. So with currency, I can detect that straight away.
£5.
Job done. 2025. Well done.
Scene preview.
Scene is actually really cool. It's quite descriptive, really.
Processing. A store filled with lots of different types of fruit.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Twitterific.
In my view, one of the best parts of seeing AI is the ability to read pictures from social media. Because so many times someone will send me a picture of something that I cannot understand. So I will share that picture to seeing AI.
Scene. Probably a group of people sitting on a bench in a park.
And then I'll get a description of what it is.
Person. 8-year-old boy with black hair looking happy. 7-year-old girl with brown hair looking disgusted.
And it's changed how I can view social media. It feels like I can participate.
Like, reply.
Far more than I could before.
Thank you for sharing. Handwriting preview.
With Handwriting Channel, I was actually able to read a card from a family member last year. That's the first time I'd actually been able to do that without help.
Dear Dad.
That was
Alice
very
worked.
good.
We can tell if Jake's been writing well if the handwriting tab can recognize it. That's good proof, really.
We love you, Daddy. XXXXXX.
We've got lots of X's. The effect of having Sing AI to hand all the time is like having somebody who can see in your pocket.
34-year-old man with a beard wearing a hat looking happy.
Why not?
There is so much more that I can do now that I couldn't before. You've grown up.
I used to be nice.
I think Seeing AI really is a huge technological step down the road, and I hope that we can continue down a road like this for many years to come.
I love hearing from Andre, also from London. So really, that just shows how it's all about, how do we find the people we serve? How do we find their pain points? And then find how technologies like artificial intelligence or augmented reality, wearables, Internet of Things, these are all buzzwords, but these to me are the tools that we can use to improve people's lives. And Seeing AI is, a project I started, one of my main focuses. I wish I had time to go into all the other projects. We have some work around speech recognition. We have work around literacy and helping people to read, and so many more. But then there's only so much that one company can do. And so at Microsoft, we also have AI for Good grants, which we will award to organizations who are working across a number of different spaces, including accessibility, humanitarian action, cultural heritage, AI for Earth, which is around the environment. And so they're just incredible projects. Again, they're all on the website, but whether we're talking about farmers increasing crop yield or availability to water, whether we're talking about preserving languages or preserving monuments digitally for future generations. And of course, AI for healthcare, where scientists are working on ways to use data to track the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's show a quick video which gives an overview of just some of those projects, but there's so much incredible work in this AI for Good space.
Like never before, our world is changing. Faced with some of our most critical challenges, human ingenuity triumphs. Today, the Microsoft AI for Good initiative enables a person with an idea to accelerate it, to give it scale, to create change for the better.
Microsoft AI will help our work by empowering people to take action.
Through AI for Earth, photos can now help save a species. With AI for accessibility, the visual world becomes an audible experience.
Sanitarium peanut butter.
And with AI for humanitarian action, first responders can target their efforts faster than ever before.
It feels humbling to know that I'm actually helping another human being.
Today, we are empowering others to forge new paths, to fight famine before a crisis strikes, and protect ecosystems by identifying forests down to a single tree.
We have the forest that we have today. We can't change that. What we can change is the future.
Microsoft AI is fueling some of the most passionate and creative people on our planet, with the help of citizen scientists, to make change, once thought impossible, real.
AI will know and understand and model based on the child interaction.
AI unleashes new possibilities to impact our world. And together, we're not just dreaming it, we're doing it.
That just makes me think. Just looking at the range of projects that companies and organizations around the world are doing, it's like, yeah, we're software engineers, designers, PMs. But when we go tippity-tap, tippity-tap on the keyboard, what comes out the other end can really, really change people's lives, change the world. And wow, I'm just going to pause because I just find that so inspiring and so incredible. And you know, you guys have already been doing that, but you also have the potential to do that in your careers going forwards. Like, this is the possibility that we have, the ability we have as creators. So I'm just going to close this section by saying, I can't wait to see what you go on to do. We truly are in this incredible time where incredible technology can enable us to do so much. So go out there, seek the problems, find the communities you can serve, the improvements you can make, and use your incredible talent and skills to make a better future. And now I want to talk to you. So I think we're going to go to some Q&A, which is very exciting to me as well. So over to you, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for a wonderful presentation, an inspiring presentation, not just the work that you've done, but the work that you shared with us. For everyone who's attending today, if you have questions, you can enter them into the chat and I'll relay them over. But for right now, we had a couple questions come in a little bit earlier directly to me. And the first one that struck me was a broad question, which is, where do you see the greatest opportunity right now in applying artificial intelligence for improving the world? There's so much to do. There's so many possibilities. If someone were to push you and say, what are the 2 or 3 top opportunities right now, how would you respond?
In many ways, this is one of the hardest things. It's like, what do you work on? Because there's so much opportunity. I would suggest finding the area that you're passionate about, that you're connected to, because you can't do this just with an idea. Like I said, find people with the problem that you have access to, or maybe a data set or some data that you can use. So in my case, I'm connected to the disability community. So, at one point I thought about, oh, wow, I'd love to do stuff in, I know, healthcare, education, but I thought, I could have my greatest impact on many of my projects by engaging with the disabled community, by talking to them, understanding deeply their problems. Whereas, for example, climate science, definitely passionate about that, but I would have to go and think where to look. So draw on the knowledge and the passion you already have, and then go deeper, seek out the people, seek out the problems. And, if something like, healthcare, do you have the data? Can you partner with people with the data to answer some of those questions they might have? So it's all about not just the idea, but the people in the team as well.
Excellent. It's funny. I'm smiling large at what you're saying, because it's something that I often talk to our teams about. Number one, about finding the right team and getting the right people around you, and then very importantly, talking to those that you're trying to impact, those you're trying to help, and getting them involved in the process.
Absolutely. In the disability community, there's this lovely phrase I like: nothing about us without us. So that's one to keep in mind.
That's great. I'm going to combine a couple of questions that came through. Greg Casas from our CNAI team, as well as a couple that have been privately chatted to me. are asking basically, what are some things that developers should be keeping in mind for accessibility purposes? So somewhat aside from AI, but our teams are applying artificial intelligence, they're creating these minimal viable products. And for many of our developers and many of our teams, they probably haven't thought too terribly much about the accessibility needs for those apps and what they're trying to create. So are there any tips that you can provide them to help them think about user experience design related to accessibility, about types of software you might use for developing an accessible app? What kind of guidance could you provide them?
There is a very sort of technical answer, but there's also a mindset. I think sometimes you feel like it's easiest to develop software for people like yourself, whatever that means. And then you realize that actually, with, I'm trying to remember the exact number, 3-4 billion people on the internet, then everyone's your customer. Everyone could be a user in theory. So this concept of like me, when you go on the internet, that kind of doesn't mean anything because everyone is different and unique and different in weird ways. So that's just something to ponder about. And then when we think about accessibility, it's about, okay, people are going to use this in ways I never imagined. There will be blind people using a screen reader with this app. There will be people who are maybe using a straw in their mouth to tap at the screen, and that's just disability. Then you have people who are just thinking differently, different cultures, different languages. So test with as many people as you can. But then in terms of accessibility specifically, there are guidelines for every platform. So if you make an iPhone or Android app, then Apple and Google have whole pages on accessibility APIs, like label all your buttons and all that good stuff. So definitely make sure you know those technical details, but also just keep in mind that testing is key when everyone in the world is so different.
Excellent, thank you. Another question that came in has to do with kind of just the software development side of things. So what are some of the important subjects during your studies that you found most important as a software developer? We've got students right now that are studying software development and computer engineering and IST and looking to go into the field that you're in right now. What are some tips or tricks you can provide them for having a successful career like you've had?
I think if there's only one thing, it would be make stuff. So computer science, software engineering, as in theory, there's a lot of great theory to learn, and that's great. But I always look at, myself or other interns I've worked with or graduates, is the people who have spent their time just making as many things as possible. That's how you get the real world experience. So in a sense, there's not one thing to learn, but just a muscle to develop to always be making. In terms of specific things, maybe a couple of trends would be collaborative software development. So I think when you're at college, often you might develop on your own, but certainly as the teams tonight have shown, those skills around collaborative software development are really important as well. So yeah, just a couple of things to think about.
Excellent. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this one, but someone sent me a question asking whether you were privy to or you have ideas on some of the new tools and AI capabilities that we're going to be seeing in the next year or so, and how might those impact these opportunities to improve the world using AI?
I think there's so many different directions to take that one, but definitely some of the most impressive one is the OpenAI work on language understanding, where they basically sucked in the entire internet into a model. But I think that is a broader trend where I don't know if we're going to see it quite now, but this idea that can you use supercomputers, massive computation to generate these general models and then tune them to be very specific. So I think that could be an interesting trend where not everyone has access to the data, but can big companies create models which then you can tune to your particular application? And then take that one step further. We're also looking into personalization on an individual level. Like, how do you get individuals to teach the AI to do something which is unique to their situation? Yeah, and then there's other sort of broader areas like understanding ML. So how do, right now neural networks are black boxes, how do we understand why a decision was made? Or machine teaching. So how can an individual influence the system? So there's so many other things go on, but I'm going to pause there.
So I think we have probably time for one more question, and one that was just sent to me is asking what your thoughts are on openly sharing these types of AI innovations that are created compared to propriety type systems, as well as the black box issue, and how maybe openly sharing some of this code and some of these tools might be able to alleviate some of the concerns related to seeing behind the curtain with what some of this AI is doing.
Yeah, I definitely think, developing in the open, that's not always possible. When it is, it's good because especially in this AI for good space, it pushes our collective knowledge, our collective value forwards. And yeah, the other side to that is also, many eyeballs make all bugs shallow, is what they traditionally say. But again, here, if you have that peer review, that could be valuable just to move things forwards, but to make sure we don't fall into any traps. And the whole space of AI ethics is very early on, and making sure that, through our data sets, how do we not encode biases? How do we make sure that this is a fair system that includes everyone, doesn't exclude anyone? These are each really big topics, and luckily there are some great minds thinking on each of those. So yeah, all in favor in developing in the open for sure.
Excellent. And we're out of time for questions, but because I'm moderating, I'll throw in one more question because it's of interest to me and it relates to what you just said. As I said, many individuals are starting to think for the first time about accessibility and issues like that. But at the same time, many teams are also individuals are starting to think for the first time about ethics related to their efforts and what they're building and what they're coding. So are there any guidelines you could provide, any places to go, any ways of thinking, any advice you could provide related to having an ethical focus related to AI development?
Totally, and this is still a sort of a developing area, so encourage you to read. Even just being aware that this is a thing is a big step forward. Last year, Microsoft released some guidelines on responsible AI. Inside, it said for Microsoft Responsible AI, and you should be able to find that resource. And would definitely encourage people to take a read of that. And again, I'm available if anyone wants to ask questions. I can always give pointers. So yeah.
Excellent. And with that, I want to thank you very much for joining us here today. Thank you for like I said, a very inspiring talk. Thank you for giving us a bit of your time and joining us tonight. If I can ask all of our attendees to help me in providing a little bit of a virtual applause. Wish you were in the room with us and you could hear us in person, but thank you for joining us tonight. And hopefully you'll be able to hang in and see some of the demos of the team's projects and what they've done.
Thank you. Looking forward to that.
So, hi. I'm Brad Zidennick, Innovation Strategist with the Nittany AI Alliance and Program Manager for the Nittany AI Challenge. What you just heard were a few inspiring ideas presented to us by Sakib for ways in which artificial intelligence could be used to change the world. We at the Nittany AI Alliance have always deeply believed in those possibilities as well. In fact, it's that belief that inspired the very first iteration of the Nittany AI Challenge 4 years ago now. It was a partnership with IBM Watson called the Nittany Watson Challenge. From that year until 2019, we focused the Nittany AI Challenge on ways artificial intelligence could be used to improve Penn State University or higher education in general. This past year, we decided that our students' innovative spirit and abilities were greater than the limitations we placed in the challenge. This past year, we embarked to vastly expand the Nittany AI Challenge into the realm of artificial intelligence for good, focusing in on strategic pillars represented in the Penn State Strategic Plan, as well as United Nations Development Goals. We challenged students from across the university to think about ways in which artificial intelligence could be applied to the domains of health, humanitarianism, sustainability and climate change, and education. Last fall, I began the process of traveling from one classroom to another, trying to convey to students the possibilities, the opportunities to change the world using artificial intelligence. Many of those students joined us for ideations, for presentation sessions, for technical workshops to get them inspired and motivated. Many others began talking with their professors and mentors, exploring the possibilities and boundaries of what was possible. Hundreds of students from across Penn State started to find their own inspiration, culminating in 60 innovative and inspirational ideas that were submitted in January of this year. We selected 20 of those ideas to support and assist, challenging them to bring their ideas into reality, to develop working prototypes. Actually, this is actually a good time to mention a very important aspect of the challenge. Despite its name, this is not a strictly technology challenge. In fact, the most successful teams are often those that bring together individuals with varying backgrounds and skill sets, needing students from business just as much as from IST, from arts and architecture as much as from engineering. Teams don't just develop, they design, they communicate, they pitch, and they manage the potential chaos that any team effort can pose. 10 of those top 20 prototypes were selected back in April to move through to this final stage of the challenge. They were tasked with and supported in developing a minimal viable product for their original idea, developing something that could actually be used in the real world by common users. To support them in this, we engaged them in a process that they probably felt was a full-time job they didn't know they had. They went through design thinking workshops, they engaged in customer discovery, they consulted with Penn State research librarians, talked with subject matter experts, and most horrendously, met with me every single week throughout the summer. All of that has brought us here to these final 9 that made it through all of that, demonstrating not only how amazing their initial ideas were, but, and in my opinion, more importantly, how amazing they are as individuals. I have had the pleasure of getting to know these team members as individuals over the course of the past year, and I can personally vouch for the caliber of people they are. They are talented, motivated, intelligent, and persistent. They're funny and kind and adaptable and understanding. They're leaders and innovators, and I have no doubt they will collectively change the world for the better. So what are the 9 teams? They are AI Guide. AI Guide is an app that harnesses the power of an artificial intelligence to help people with vision impairments navigate indoors and find objects. Aidly, a solution that facilitates a connection between nonprofits and prospective volunteers to ease the process of serving local communities. COACT, which stands for Co-Writing Optimized and Ascending Clinical Trials, a tool to create customized FDA clinical trial designs for biotech medical writers, intended to speed up the process of creating these really complicated documents that can sometimes be hundreds of pages. Cyclone, a smart solution to sustainability that aims to reduce large-scale energy waste across the industrial sector. Doctor, a tool for healthcare practitioners that recommends individualized treatment plans for patients, namely college students, suffering from major depressive disorder. Energy Intelligence, an app for your smartphone or computer that identifies the most energy efficient patterns in your energy use, and then allows you to become the most energy efficient version of yourself in terms of cost and energy savings. There's MedArmor, which is a genetic and AI-based diagnosis and medical cost estimation tool. It's intended to be an end-to-end online platform used to forewarn users about their chances of getting afflicted by a disease in the future and based on their genetic makeup that they upload into the tool. Nyansipo, a mobile app that administers interactive literacy assessments to improve children's literacy, ensuring that every child is prepared for higher education. And finally, we have OpenVessel, a web app focusing on pixel classification of both biomedical and micro CT imaging that allows for stress-free integration of machine learning into the medical field. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you to please click on your applause button and help me to congratulate all these amazing individuals responsible for bringing these solutions to life. So a critical part of the Nittany AI Challenge, what allows all of these amazing things to happen, are our sponsors. These are companies and individuals who dedicate time, data, resources, and expertise to help mentor, guide, and support us and our students throughout the process. We, quite honestly, could not do it without them. So with a few words of thanks, here are our teams.
Our technology facilitates a connection between nonprofits and prospective volunteers to ease the process of serving local communities.
And we have created an app that harnesses the power of artificial intelligence to help people with visual impairments navigate indoors and find objects.
We've created a mobile app that uses sentiment analysis through AI to significantly reduce online bullying by social media users becoming more aware of their social impact and their footprint.
And we have created a solution to sustainability that aims to reduce large-scale energy waste across the industrial sector.
And we've created a tool for healthcare practitioners that recommends individualized treatment plans for patients suffering from major depressive disorder.
And we are aiming to aid users in conserving and reducing energy costs by regulating their heating and cooling system, lighting, and other device usage.
Our aim is to build an advanced and novel AI-based engine that would convert a long chronicle video into a short summary text along with analysis. Through this, we would like to reduce the impact of negative, inappropriate video content on the minds of content moderators.
And we've created a tool for genetic and AI-based diagnosis and medical cost estimation that forewarns users about their chances of getting afflicted by a disease in the future based on their genetic makeup.
We've created an artificial intelligence tool that can be used for assessment and improvement of child literacy to ensure that every child has what is needed for higher education.
The core objective is focusing on pixel classification of both biomedical and micro CT imaging.
We're trying to change the world using AI for good and are focusing on the education pillar.
We're trying to change the world using AI for good, and we're focusing on the health pillar.
We're trying to change the world using AI for good, and we're focusing on the humanitarianism pillar.
We're trying to change the world using AI for the good, and we're focusing on the sustainability pillar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you and namaste.
Thank you to all of our 2020 sponsors. You've enabled all that you see here today and are key to us providing these life-changing experiences. If you are interested in supporting the next generation of AI innovators and world changers at Penn State, Check the chat feed in which our strategic partner manager, Andy Gatto, will be placing a link where you can learn more. So there's no rest for the weary, as I say. Monday morning, we will officially begin the 2021 Nittany AI Challenge. We'll begin the process of recruiting mentors, of inspiring students, and gathering supports and resources to facilitate the whole thing. This year, we have a few exciting additions to the challenge. First and foremost, I'm really excited to announce that we're welcoming IBM Watson in as a sponsor of our health pillar. IBM Watson has been helping transform the healthcare industry for years, and today they're joining us to support the development of innovative solutions within the Nittany AI Challenge. As a pillar sponsor, IBM will have the ability to select a team in the health pillar at each stage of the competition to automatically move on to the next phase. Additionally, those teams will receive special access to IBM help and tools to make their ideas come to life. We started the challenge 4 years ago with IBM by our side, and we're excited to have them join us again this year as our inaugural pillar sponsor. Also this year, we've added a host of new features to our award-winning team tool we launched last year. This tool helps students with ideas find those with specific skills to make those ideas a reality. As I mentioned earlier, multidisciplinary teams are important for success, in fact, critical for success in the challenge. And this tool will help individuals build those high-performance teams, as well as connect with mentors and subject matter experts. When you're ready, and if you're a student and interested in participating in the challenge next year, visit teams.nittanyai.psu.edu. We'll put it in the chat as well, to sign up and start building your team. Okay, so here we go. This is it. It is time to announce the final awards of the 2020 Nittany AI Challenge. Almost. I do want to say two things before I announce the awards. I want to tell you something that I tell every team every year that have made it to this phase. I tell them the same thing. I tell them that they've already won the Nittany AI Challenge before these awards ever get announced. From my perspective, making it to this point, creating a working MVP of something that was only an idea on paper 8 months ago is an amazing feat. Add to that the internships, the classes, the jobs, and all the other obligations that they have to deal with. Add to that COVID this year and uncertainty that's been thrown their way. To make it here, to have succeeded in their pursuit, it makes them one thing at the very least, which is a winner of the Nittany AI Challenge. So tonight, regardless of award, we're going to continue to work with every team to make certain that they are supported in their efforts and find a future for the MVPs that they have released to us throughout this challenge. Finally, I want to give my heartfelt thanks to the over 70 reviewers that have helped us in the selection of teams at each one of these rounds. They've been generous with their time and expertise and are the backbone of this entire challenge. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Also, a subcommittee of top leaders from across Penn State met with me yesterday to make the very tough decision that I have the pleasure of announcing now. They were faced with 9 teams that have exceeded our expectations and $25,000 to award to them. I can't thank them enough for taking this difficult decision out of my hands and making that decision for us. As well as just for being so giving of their time and for us and for our students. So I promise this time, with no further ado, here are the 4 teams receiving final funding in the 2020 Nittany AI Challenge. First, I'm pleased to announce a $5,000 award to Team Cyclone. Cyclone is a smart solution to sustainability that aims to reduce large-scale energy waste across the industrial sector. Team Cyclone is made up of Michael Allen, Kshitij Dawar, Sumitra Marota, Dominic Ugaletti, and Peter Sauer, and is led by Sean Baez. The team was advised by Dr. Rebecca Napolitano with Penn State's Built Environmental Analytics and Modeling Laboratory. Congratulations. Next, I'm pleased to announce another $5,000 award to Team AI Guide. AI Guide is an app that harnesses the power of artificial intelligence to help people with vision impairment navigate indoors and find objects. The team consists of Gregory Castias and team lead Nelson Troncoso Aldez. Next is another $5,000 award to Team Open Vessel. Open Vessel is a web app focusing on pixel classification of both biomedical and micro CT imaging that allows for a stress-free integration of machine learning into the medical field. The team consists of Rishak Panchal, Gregory Glatzer, Jordan Willard, Shubhang Sharma, Mohsen Wahi Anwar, Yanki Saplin, Harsh Gupta, Eric Liao, Angela Paul, Brittany Yee, and is led by Leslie Webble. Now, here we are. Finally, I am pleased to announce a $10,000 award to Team Nian Sapo. Nian Sapo is a mobile app that administers interactive literacy assessments to improve children's literacy, ensuring that every child is prepared for higher education. The team consists of Ria Bawaja, Kushagra Jaiswal, Mumbai Mwangange, Rithik Pramar, Tanish Rastogi, Benson Wanane, Jason Wang, and is led by Edward Amoa. So what can I say other than congratulations to all of you? The only thing left to do is just applaud your work. So I cannot tell you how much I wish I were in the same room as all of you to share in your excitement. And quite honestly, to be able to do something with these big fake checks that I've been promising you all year long. Maybe soon. For now, you're going to have to endure with meeting with me for a few more weeks as we do all that we can to set you up for the next phase of your success. So to all the teams, thank you for sharing your excitement, your drive, and your great ideas with us for the past year. As I said, this is not just the end of the challenge, but the start of the next phase for your idea. We would be honored to continue to work with you on that journey. To all of those of you who joined us tonight, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you walk away impressed, and as I am, and inspired to participate in the 2021 challenge as a participant or a mentor or a sponsor or a reviewer. If you'd like to talk about the possibilities, you can feel free to reach out to me directly. My information is in the chat, and you can also find me on the Nittany AI Alliance website. Thank you all so much, and have a great evening.